Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
And welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. The New York Mets 4-game winning streak is no more. The Mets fall in the Subway Series finale to the Yankees by a final score of 6-4. But this is not a game that I'm going to get all too riled up and upset about. The Mets throwing a bullpen game with guys that they picked up off the street or off waivers or from their job as being Uber drivers. Not making fun of Uber drivers, just saying. These were people that we never imagined that we would have to watch pitch for the Mets in 2025. And we knew what a tall task it was going to be for the Mets to win today and complete the sweep with the guys that were going to pitch today. Guys like Chris Davinsky, like Eric Pop, like Brandon Waddell, like Garcia, who actually gave the Mets 2 scoreless innings today. But with Max Fried on the other side, pitching for the Yankees, it was going to be a tough ask for the Mets to get the W today. And despite that, despite falling down 5-0, they made the Yankees sweat in this game. And if not for a ridiculous play by Cody Bellinger in the 7th inning, and then Brett Beatty lining into a double play essentially at first base in the 8th inning, the Mets with a really good chance of completing the comeback in this game. So for me, I'm just going to say it. I am not disappointed. I am actually really happy about what we saw from the Mets today. We said it the entire 3-week stretch where they were just looking lifeless, falling behind early, showing absolutely no fight. And today, I saw a lot of fight from this Mets team. And while I'm obviously disappointed you don't get the win, you get that close, you just even tell yourself when you wake up this morning, there's no way they're going to win with everything that is constructed the way it is. You obviously get caught in the emotions as the game is going on, thinking you're going to win. But despite all of that, I am really happy with what we saw from the Mets today. Guys, what's up? I'm Tony Metro. Welcome to the stream. If you guys are new, be sure to subscribe. I do daily Mets content, recap after every single Mets game. You guys could also follow me on all of my other platforms, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Links to all those are in the description below. Guys, if you want to call into the show and be a part of it live, you can do that. Link to my Discord is also in the description of this video. I will pump you into this video when we are ready to take calls. And be sure to leave this video a like. Really goes a long way toward helping out the channel. I appreciate that so much. Let's check in on the chat. Steph NHML, what's up, man? Yankees ump today. Yeah, that Yankee or that umpire behind the plate was not exactly too crisp there in that 9th inning as Carlos Mendoza ends up getting tossed late in this one. Even Mookie doesn't agree with some of those calls. So that was very frustrating for sure. But at the end of the day, it probably doesn't make a difference when the Mets are throwing the arms that they were throwing in this one. So obviously it was a tough ask for the Mets to win this game, but when you're that close and it's so close in the end, it's obviously really frustrating. Let me get Mookie over here. There we go. No more Mookie barking. All right. Anyway, Earl, what's up, Tone? Hey, Earl, how's it going, man? Tough loss. I mean, like I said, it's one of those games where you don't expect to win coming into the day, but when you get that close, you're like, oh my God, we might actually do it. And you have that inning, bases loaded, nobody out. The Yankees kicking the ball all over the field like they have all series long. And then for that play where it's a little chopper to the right side, they can't field it, their pitcher, and then it ends up getting tossed away. I don't know if anyone else noticed it, but it actually hits the umpire's foot to keep it from going to the dugout. That would have scored another run. Instead, Hayden Sanger comes up, bases loaded, nobody out. He grounds into a double play. It does score a run, but it really kind of put the brakes on that inning. So that was another one of these things where, honestly, baseball gods were maybe finally ready to say, okay, Yankees, you've had enough. 6-game losing streak. You're in 3rd place now. We're going to take it easy on you. The baseball gods finally relented on torturing the Yankees today, in my opinion. I don't think that they outplayed played the Mets today. They obviously score 6 runs. The Mets, on the other hand, they only score 4. They didn't play the most crisp baseball game. They obviously have the guys that they had on the mound, but it's really just a play or two difference in this one. That one on that swinging bunt from, I think it was Jeff McNeil up at the plate at that time, and then obviously the ridiculous catch by Cody Bellinger. But man, I would never have guessed the Mets were going to make this a game when it was 5-0 in what, the 4th inning, right? So I am just really pleased with the fight that we saw from the Mets today in a game they really had no business even being in, and something we didn't see from them that whole 3-week stretch where they were just playing like one of the worst baseball teams that I had ever seen. Let's see, Ghost of Maiden's Peak, Mets might have just turned the Yankee season around. I don't think so at all. I don't think that is one of those wins for the Yankees where they feel all that great about themselves. They can lie to themselves and convince themselves, oh, that was a great win. Like, that was not that impressive of a win for the Yankees, if you ask me. And this is not me being sour grapes, but they are literally a millimeter from that ball going under Cody Bellinger's glove and to the wall in left field for an RBI triple, or I guess it would have been an error. All right. I mean, this was not a come out, score 10 runs, Max Fried dominates through the 8th inning kind of performance for the Yankees. The fact the Mets even made this a ball game, to me, is more indicative of how bad a place that the Yankees are in right now. They had no business being in this game. And for it to come down to a 2-run game in the 9th inning, I'm just saying, that was not all that impressive of a performance, if you ask me, from the Yankees. But again, not trying to be sour grapes. I know that's how it's going to be misconstrued. But Ghost of Edens Park says, we saw how Mets looked versus a top pitcher today. Yeah, well, look, you tip your cap to Max Fried. He's obviously a great pitcher, but at the end of the day, he only went 5 innings. He gave up 6 hits and 3 earned. I mean, I don't think the Mets got dominated by Max Fried at all. That's not that impressive of an outing from Fried. 5 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs. I know the defense wasn't particularly good behind him, but that's what comes with being on the Yankees. They don't play good defense. So I don't know if I agree with you there, Ghost of Maiden's Peak. Stefan says Mets were fighting today. That's positive, 100%. D-Rels says, what's up, D-Rels? The Mets did good against Fried. I was proud. There you go. I feel the same way. I was really actually happy with what we saw from the Mets against Max Fried. They come close to cracking it all the way through in that 5th inning, but unfortunately, a couple of bad bounces, the double play from Hayden Sanger kind of puts the brakes out on it all. Let's see, D-Rels, I knew the Mets were going to lose throwing a bullpen game. Exactly. And so that's why I leave this game feeling pretty positive about things, pretty happy with how things went today. Obviously not stoked because they don't win the game. How sweet that would have been to get the icing on the cake and sweep the Yankees in this series. But we had no chance at winning this game entering today. I think every Mets fan knew that when they put their head on the pillow last night and when they woke up this morning. But for them to even make it as close as it was, especially after falling down 5-0 against their ace, I mean, I'm happy with it. I really am. But Buzz Bass, what's up, man? I hope Vientos gets dealt at the deadline, but his stock is low. Dude has been horrible. Man, Mark Vientos does not look right. You see him get pinch hit for there in the 5th inning by Carlos Mendoza. They put up Ronnie Mauricio, who does get a base hit. Later comes up again from the right side of the plate, gets another base hit. So on the negative side, Mark Vientos has been really bad. On the positive side, Ronnie Mauricio has looked really good now for at least a week, maybe a little bit longer. So I am really happy with what we have been seeing out of Ronnie Mauricio. I did not expect to get anything from him in that second at bat when he came up as a righty, but really stoked about what we have been seeing from Mauricio. Equally as disappointed with what's going on with Vientos. They're not going to trade him, obviously. You know, they would be stupid to trade him at his lowest value right now, but we'll see what happens with him. Obviously, third base is up for grabs. Brett Beatty came up as a pinch hitter in that 5th inning immediately after Vientos. First pitch swinging, lines it to the left field for a base knock. So Beatty has been hitting the ball a little bit better, made a slick play at third base to end yesterday's game as well. So Beatty's coming along. It seems like Mark Vientos is the only guy that is not getting in on the action lately. So absolutely 100% Buzz Bass. It has been really brutal for him. D-Rails Yankees almost lost a bullpen game against the Yankees' best pitcher. That's my point. That is why I can't leave this game and be disappointed. I can be disappointed with the home plate umpire. I am watching him right now. That was horrific in the 9th inning. Good for Mendy going out there and putting some dirt on that plate, because clearly home plate umpire couldn't see it even when it was dusted off. And I'm not blaming the loss on that whatsoever, but that was atrocious while the Mets are trying to get the tying run to the plate. So that was definitely very annoying. Let's actually go to Mendy's press conference really quick and hear what he has to say about getting ejected out of this game, and then anything else that he might have had to say as well. But guys, sound off in the chat. How are you guys feeling about this game? Like I've said, I am obviously disappointed anytime the Mets don't win, but in a game where we didn't expect them to have a puncher's chance to win this ball game, I am actually pretty happy with how it did end up going. So let's take a look at what Mendy had to say, or listen rather, to what Mendy has to say after today's ball game.
Off the bat was pretty impressive. Obviously I'm taking my chances there. I wanted to give it a look, and it's a tough spot for Lindor to be in as a base runner. He kind of gets caught in no man's land there, obviously. But again, I just wanted to give it a look. Given where we were at, I knew I was going to have another one later if I lost that challenge there. And when you see the replay, it was a hell of a catch there.
Yeah, really not sure why Lindor was so far off of first base on that catch by Bellinger. I mean, the ball's in left field. There's no way he's going to third, even if it falls in. So I didn't understand that from Lindor at all.
Like, pick your poison there, even though it's Aaron Judge. But given where we were at bullpen-wise and down 3, I wasn't going to do it.
Tony.
On his choice not to intentionally walk Aaron Judge there when they were down 3-0, Judge, of course, hits a 2-run shot. Didn't love that decision.
But, it's one of those that already kind of almost empty the bench there, and playing with one guy, like coming off a pretty good line drive of Free there, even though it's a tough at bat, right on right, but then you put in Louis on a tough bat too, right on right against Loaiziga. So, I thought about it, but obviously I didn't do it.
Andrew?
What did you think about the performances of both Davinsky and Rico?
Davinsky actually gave us 2 scoreless.
Devo goes out there, gets a quick first inning. We send him back out there. He kept throwing strikes, using his changeup, the fastball, and for him to go 2 innings there, kind of like what we needed there. And then Rico, keeping us in the game the last 2 innings there and giving the offense a chance, coming in, throwing strikes, attacking, using all of his pitcher. I thought the cutter, touched 97, I think I saw. It was a solid job by those 2 there.
Steve?
Carlos, you mentioned...
Just going to listen to this question, and then we'll wrap it up. I'll come back here, guys.
That's now 2 days in a row where he's put together some pretty
Actually, you know what? No, we don't need to hear what he needs to say about Mauricio. We already know that he's been obviously hitting a lot better lately, so happy about that. But yeah, guys, I mean, there's the choice there of deciding to pitch to Aaron Judge when he hits that 2-run homer back in the top of the 5th inning and make it a 5-0 game. That's one of the turning points in this game. Then when the Mets are making that little comeback in the 6th inning with Hayden Singer coming to the plate and the bases loaded, he was asked about potentially pinch hitting for Sanger. That's coming after he had just lined a base hit into right field the previous inning, and he said he didn't want to continue to empty the bench at that point in the game. But me personally, I would have definitely had Hayden Singer taking all the way, at least for the first 2 pitches, see what he's going to get. And, if he strikes out there, he strikes out, but you're coming then back to the top of the order with Starling Marte and Lindor due up and a chance to potentially get a big hit from one of those guys. Instead, Singer rolls into the double play. Yes, it scores a run. It makes it a 5-4 game, but I personally would not have had Hayden Singer swinging there, especially not on the first pitch. But let me go to the chat really quick. Let's see. Yes, Stefan says those Uber driver pitchers were on a roll today. So yes, we did see the debut of 2 new pitchers for the Mets. One pretty good, one really, really bad. So obviously the Mets begin this game with Chris Davinsky on the mound and does a solid job. Gives up just 1 hit in 2 innings. So solid solid work out of Davinsky. Again, it's not someone I want to see very often pitching for this team, but desperate times call for desperate measures for this beleaguered pitching staff. But 2 innings, 1 hit, and 2 strikeouts for Davinsky. Nice way to set the tone and begin this game at least. But, oh man, you know what, guys? I got to fix something. I'm pretty sure I left the old thumbnail up, and that is why we have such low audience in this one, because it is the thumbnail from yesterday's game. So I'm going to quickly change that. Let's make sure that that is correct now. Sorry guys, I messed that up. I know I don't have the biggest audience, not that it matters, it's about the quality, you guys, but I'm much lower than usual, and I'm like, what's going on? Isn't like everyone just busy on a Sunday, not tuned in? And then I realized I still had yesterday's thumbnail, and so I think a lot of people were probably like, wait a second, that doesn't make sense. Anyway, hopefully that is fixed now. I'm just going to double check real quick, but real quick, while I do that, guys, drop it in the chat. What are your feelings, takeaways from this game? I personally am not as disappointed as some might be. I feel like it was kind of a missed opportunity, but not for anything that the Mets did or did not do. More so the Yankees just getting that crazy catch from Bellinger in left field. They get doubled up the next inning on a line drive off the bat of Brett Beatty, which really sucked. But overall, coming into today, bullpen game against the Yankees ace and Max Fried, and they make it a 2-run game after trailing 5-0. You can't find a much more of a silver lining moral victory type of game than I think the Mets just played here today. So unfortunately, it does come at a bit of a loss because the Phillies do win today. So the Mets do fall one more game behind them in the National League East standings. They are now 1.5 games trailing for the division. But I feel like the Mets have officially turned that corner. I feel like the Mets won back-to-back series against playoff caliber teams and very nearly came back in a game they had no business being in to complete the sweep of their crosstown rival. And I think at this point, I have seen enough here over the last 4, 5, 6 days to convince me that the Mets have rounded that corner. It could go out the window if they lose these next 2 series against the Royals and against the Orioles, but I do think the Mets are officially heading in the right direction, are out of the woods of the doldrums of that horrible stretch of baseball that we were watching for a while. So let me go to the chat real quick, then we'll get back to taking a look at some of the numbers from this game. Guys, I'm sorry about that and having the wrong thumbnail up, but hopefully it's all fixed now. Mets have 15 guys on the injured list, still smack the Yankees, says D. Rails, 100%. Man, that's what I'm saying. Considering the guys we threw out here today, I am not disappointed whatsoever in how this one went. Absol goes to Maidens Peak. Yanks will get swept by Seattle. Ooh, that would be nice to see the Yankees convince themselves that because they narrowly beat the Mets quadruple A squad of Uber drivers and Whole Foods stock shelfers that they're going to come back and get out of this funk that they've been in, and to see them get swept by Seattle. Oh, wouldn't that just be nice? I would love it. Let's see. Buzzbash. Yankees are such a bad fundamental team. They are. I mean, like, that is an amazing catch from Bellinger, but it's not like a fundamental play. They can't pick it for their lives. And you got Jazz Chisholm playing out of position at third base. Anthony Volpe, the most overrated defensive shortstop that I've seen since Derek Jeter. You got, just a who's who playing in the outfield. I mean, they are, other than Aaron Judge in right field, I wouldn't feel comfortable with anybody else out there. Jason Dominguez is a disaster in left field, but whatever. We're done with the Yankees for the year. Unless we meet in the World Series, I don't think the Yankees are going to make it. I could see the Mets doing it. No, anyway. Red Bear Fox says, today was simply a game where the Yankees just beat the Mets. It's embarrassing when Mets fans act like every Mets lost this game they should have won and the other team didn't just beat them. That's exactly what I'm saying. If you can't keep a level head about the Mets losing a game where they pitched Chris Davinsky, Eric Pop, and Brandon Waddell. Oh, and Rico Garcia for 8 of the 9 innings and still only lost by 2 runs, then you're delusional. I'm sorry. There's no other way to put it. Yes, they made a comeback. They could have won this game, but they really shouldn't have even been close, especially after falling behind 5-0, and yet they make this a 1-run game at one point and then eventually fall just by 2. So if you can't accept that the Mets couldn't complete the sweep after winning 4 in a row and 2 consecutive series against 2 playoff caliber teams, then I don't know what to tell you. I, even as one of the most insane Mets fans, can't walk you off the ledge. Well said, Red Bear Fox. He says, Tony, you know baseball. That's why you realize this loss isn't anything to be crying over. All these people in here acting like it's the end of the world. I wouldn't say everyone in our chat. We got some really good fans in this chat, but I hear you. There are going to be fans on social media. There are going to be friends of yours that are freaking out about this loss. It just is not right. It just is not fair to what the Mets have done over the last couple days, and even what they showed us here today, mounting that near comeback that unfortunately just falls a little bit short. RM 1042, what's up, everybody? How's it going, RM? What is up, my man? Appreciate you tuning in. Stefan says, well, you always have a momentum moment in that 9th inning. Being screwed made the Yankees win it even easier. Yeah, I mean, no doubt. 2 strikes called on Luis Torrens that did not look like strikes to me at all. It ends up being a strikeout. So really, really a momentum moment for sure. No guarantee you're going to do anything against Devin Williams. Obviously, would have been sweet to see Pete Alonso get his opportunity, man. What a freaking moment that would have been against him. But unfortunately, just not what was in store for us today. And you could tell after Bellinger made that catch and Lindor gets doubled off of first that it just was not going to happen today. And then even in the 8th inning, you get a leadoff base hit from Ronnie Mauricio. Brett Beatty scorches one down the right field line. It's just right at Paul Goldschmidt. The easy unassisted double play. It took the Yankees 2 of those types of plays to beat the Mets in a game where I again repeat to you, the Mets had Chris Davinsky, Eric Pop, Brandon Waddell, and Rico Garcia pitch 8 of the 9 innings today. So put it into perspective, Mets fans, put it into perspective, Yankee fans, and realize that this is not a terrible loss for the Mets. And if you ask me, Yankee fans probably wouldn't, but this is not some amazing season turning around kind of win for the Bronx Bombers either. So Ghost and Maiden's Peak, Red Bear, I disagree. We turned the Yankee season around. This is a bigger loss than you think. I'm sorry, man. I just can't agree with that. You're entitled to that opinion. I personally don't feel that way, but that's what I love about it. Some fans do feel that way. Some fans don't feel that way. Some just kind of fall in the middle. I feel like I fall in the middle because obviously when you make it this close and you have those opportunities late in the game, it's frustrating, especially Lindor getting picked off of first. I mean, I just don't understand why he's even that far off the bag on a play that is in front of him in left field. So plays like that, yeah, that is frustrating, but you also just have to tip your cap to Cody Bellinger making a terrific shoestring catch. How he made that, I just don't know. That I can't stand Cody Bellinger. I am so glad we don't have to face him again this season. Dude just absolutely torched us the entire Subway Series, both series in the Bronx and at Citi Field this weekend. So glad we don't have to deal with his ass anymore. Lane Kerner, what's up? How do you feel about the Mets? Go Mets. Lane, I feel okay, man. I feel like the Mets turned that corner. I really do. I feel like the Mets are out of the woods. I saw fight from them today. I obviously saw them win back-to-back series against really good teams now. And for them to fight the way they did in a game that nobody in the world would have ever given them a chance to win tells me a lot about what's going on in that clubhouse. I really, truly do believe that they are out of the doldrums that they were in for that 3-week period. And now they need to prove it by going out to Baltimore, winning 2 out of 3 there, and then going to Kansas City and doing the same against the Royals. Finish off this first half with 4 consecutive series victories against all teams that made the playoffs in 2024 and go into the All-Star break. I don't think you could script it any better. I really don't. How amazing would that be? That would be just absolutely perfect and tell me that the Mets are ready to get back on track and jump out to a good start in the second half. RM 1042 says, we can dissect it every way, but the game was over when Bellinger made that catch and doubled off Lindor. 100%, man. 100%. It's a momentum swing kind of play, 100%. So unfortunate. Again, I definitely place some blame on Lindor for being so far off the bag. He's actually speaking right now on SNY. But it is what it is. It just is what it is. But let's see. D-Rails, don't disrespect Vientos like that. Yeah, man, Vientos is really wearing it right now. It's unfortunate, man. I don't know what they're going to do with him. He had his little stint in AAA after the injury. It doesn't look like it has fixed anything for him. So Jesse Winker hit a home run, though, and Jesse Winker is set to get a promotion, I believe, tomorrow. So we're going to find out. Do they put Ronnie Mauricio back down to AAA after the way he has been hitting this week? Let's actually take a look at Ronnie's stats because he gets 2 more knocks today. He has a hustle double yesterday. He had a base hit or 2 in that series against Milwaukee. I have really liked the way that Mauricio has been swinging it. Last 7 games, again, small sample size, but in 19 at-bats, he has 6 hits. That's a 316 average, a 435 on base percentage. Obviously not showing much power, but he has also drawn 4 walks. Those 4 came in the previous 8 games before that, but I'm really, really happy with how Ronnie Mauricio has looked. And now the question is, what do the Mets do? Do they send Vientos back down to AAA, who has just clearly not looked right from the jump here in 2025, and even worse, I think, coming back from the injured list? Or are they going to put Ronnie Mauricio down? Because it looks like Brett Beatty has cemented his spot at least as the almost everyday third baseman at this point. So that is a very, very interesting question the Mets are going to have to answer here probably in the next 24 hours as they're set to activate Jesse Winker, who again hit a home run in his minor league rehab game today for Binghamton. So what would you guys do? Are you sending Ronnie Mauricio down or Mark Vientos to AAA if the Mets do in fact decide that they're ready to activate Jesse Winker from the injured list? Let's see. Lane says now the Mets play at Baltimore and then Kansas City. That is correct. Like I said, if the Mets find a way to win each of these next 2 series and ride into the All-Star break, winning 4 consecutive series against all playoff teams from last season, that tells me something big about this Mets ball club. So I would be really, really happy about that. Buzz Bass, Vientos has hurt this lineup. Imagine if he was half of what he did last year. That's the sad part. It's not even like he's like just a little off and he's still popping a homer here and there. He's not even close to half of what he did in 2024. And we banked on that. We thought, oh, we have the guy that is Pete Alonso's protection that's going to maybe hit 30 home runs this year in a full season. He's not even close to what we were expecting to get out of Mark Vientos. So, man, it has just really, really been tough and really been a huge hole in this lineup. Lane says, how do you feel about the Yankees today? I mean, like I said many times here so far, just really don't think that the Yankees had an impressive win at all. I mean, they get the win, and I think a lot of them are going to convince themselves that they are out of the woods and done with their horrible streak of baseball, but I wouldn't be all that impressed with a 2-run win against the Mets bullpen from quadruple A and only winning by 2 runs when you had Max Fried on the mound. I would not be all that impressed. They kicked the ball all over the field. Only guys in that lineup that scare me are Cody Bellinger and Aaron Judge. Outside of that, it's like, okay, like I'm not moved by the Yankees whatsoever. D-Rose, I expect the Mets sweep against the Orioles in 2 out of 3 out of Kansas City. So the Orioles have been playing much better baseball lately. So let me actually go to the baseball standings right now, and we can also take a look at any potential trades that you guys are interested in talking about. But the Orioles have been playing a little bit better. They actually just did a little bit of work for us. They win 2 out of 3 against the Braves, who continue to struggle against everybody not named the Mets. So Orioles have been playing better ball, but they're still 8 or 9 games under 500. There we are. So they are 9 games under 500 despite getting a win today and having won 3 in a row. So they actually might have swept the Braves this weekend, which thank you, Baltimore. We appreciate you burying them even further. The Braves 39-50. They have lost 4 in a row. They only have a +4 run differential, and they are 13.5 back of the Phillies. That puts them 12 back of the Mets. My goodness, what is going on with Atlanta? If they played the Mets every game, man, they'd get right. But luckily for us, and unfortunately for them, that's not the case. But D-Rel says he wants a sweep out of Baltimore. I mean, they have a talented roster. They made the playoffs last year, but For whatever reason, they haven't been able to put it together this season. They are 9 games under 500 despite playing much better. Still 11.5 back in their division, 7 back in the wild card. So I don't think it's a guaranteed easy sweep. That is a really ugly run differential there of -82 for them. But I would be happy with 2 out of 3. Would a sweep be great? Yes, but wouldn't be disappointed with 2 out of 3 in this upcoming series. And then we know the Royals, despite being a playoff team last year, have massively underachieved as well. They are 42-48, 6 games under. They are 14.5 back of one of the best records in baseball, clearly the best in American League with the Tigers, and they are 5.5 back of the wild card, so they might be sellers at the deadline. So if there's either one of these series where I'm thinking the Mets should sweep, if that's possible, I'm going to say the Kansas City Royals is the one that I would highlight and earmark as a potential sweep opportunity for the Mets. But again, I would be more than satisfied with the Mets winning 2 out of 3 in Baltimore, then going to Kansas City, winning 2 out of 3 there. That would give them, 8 wins in their final 12 games leading into the All-Star break. I would be more than pleased with the Mets doing that. Let's go to the chat real quick. D-Rel says, I still trust Vientos. I'm not giving up on him. I feel the same way, man. I am not giving up on Vientos either, but I think it might be time for him to go to AAA, especially with how Ronnie is swinging the bat right now. I don't want to mess with that, and I want to get Mark Vientos right. So if it means AAA the way we're doing things with Francisco Alvarez, then so be it. I might pull the trigger on that instead of sending Ronnie down when the Mets decide to bring up Mark Vientos.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks a lot, Steve Gelbs, for interrupting my stream, you jerk. Just kidding. Jimmy James C, I keep thinking Vientos is due for a big moment, but he keeps doing nothing. Man, he is the king of the 6-3, and by that I mean a weak little chopper to the shortstop, man. It has just been so ugly. It's just night and day difference from what we saw from Mark Vientos in 2024, man. I just don't know what has happened to this dude. Let's see. Lane says, do you call up Alvarez? So, look, guys, we know that Francisco Alvarez has been hitting a lot of home runs at AAA recently. What they're not telling you, unfortunately, is that he is hitting below 200 in his time with Syracuse. So while it's nice that he has hit 4 home runs in his past 7 games, I think it is, unfortunately, he has not been hitting for a good average. Now, we know he's trying to get the old swing back that he used to have, and so it's going to come with some kinks that he needs to work out. But hitting below the Mendoza line at AAA tells me he's probably still not ready. He's still probably working on things. These are all of the highlights of his home runs, but I did see his line right now, and it's not been really good with the Syracuse Mets. So, unfortunately, I don't think Alvarez is ready. What I would personally do is roll through with the current roster as far as the catchers with Terens and Sanger, and then after the All-Star break, call Alvarez up and let him start the second half fresh. That is what I would do if I were the Mets regarding Francisco Alvarez. Let's see. Yeah, RM1042 says, do you bring Alvarez back now or wait until after the All-Star break? I'm waiting till after the All-Star break for sure. Lane says, do you send down Ronnie Mauricio? No, I just said it, man. I would probably send down Mark Vientos at this point, get him some more time in AAA, because Ronnie Mauricio has shown me something over this last week and a half or so. He's starting to hit the ball a little bit. Let's go back over to his stats really quick. I mean, look, the line's not great, but it's still better than what we've seen from Mauricio or from Alvarez. He's gotten that batting average up to 247, the OBPs to 318, OPS to 721, hustle double yesterday, 2 hits today, 1 from each side of the plate, both as a pinch hitter. So I am really excited about what we have seen from Ronnie Mauricio here over the last week or so. So I personally, both for Mark Vientos' sake and Ronnie Mauricio's sake, would be sending Mark down to AAA and keeping Ronnie Mauricio if, in fact, Jesse Winker is ready to return to the big league roster, which I do believe is the case. We will probably learn what the Mets' decision is, maybe even before the end of tonight. Usually these decisions come Sundays before the team travels to their next destination. So let's see. Red Bear Fox, Orioles are playing very good baseball right now. Pitching has been good, which is crazy because the Orioles pitching was clearly the worst part of their team in the beginning of the season. I mean, they had Charlie Morton as one of their starting pitchers, like their ace. So obviously that has not worked out for them. But yeah, their pitching has been much better. They've been playing much better baseball for sure. Steve Sorensen in the chat with $2. Super chat. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it, my man. It stinks, but Bellinger's catch throw out, play of the game. 100% the play of the game by Cody Bellinger there. Look, what are you going to do? I hate that it's Cody Bellinger because he just killed us the entire season, but it is what it is. Edwin Diaz named to the 2025 NL All-Star team, his second appearance as a Met, his third overall. That is the breaking news here. So Edwin Diaz is an All-Star after a really great season so far here with the Mets. He has been locked down for them in the back end of that bullpen, whether it's the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, whatever situation the Mets have called on Edwin Diaz for, he has been tremendous. A 1.80 ERA in 35 appearances this year. He is 18 for 19 on saves. The whip below 1 right there at 0.91. So good job by Edwin Diaz, and very nicely done, and congratulations to him. I was just talking about it the other day. Remember when we were just screaming and ripping our hair out that we traded Jared Kelenic to the Mariners for him and for Robinson Cano's bloated contract, and it was looking like Diaz was a disaster in 2019, and then he slowly has just turned it around. Not something you see in this town too often, where you could fail as miserably as he did in his Mets tenure at the beginning, and to be able to now become one of the more beloved Mets, I believe, though closers are finicky, fickle. You never know. Well, you know, especially as fans, we could turn on them in an instant. It's a very unrewarding type of job. But anyway, great job from Edwin Diaz, who has been electric this year for the team. Named to his third career All-Star game, second as a member of the Mets. So love to see it. Let's see, Red Bear Fox. I didn't realize he was hitting so poorly in AAA, so no, he shouldn't be brought up. Alvarez has been terrible hitter his entire time in the major leagues. Yeah, I mean, outside of 2023, but even in 23, I think he only hit like 205 or like 210, but he popped those 25 homers. Yeah, with him still hitting below the Mendoza line at AAA, despite the home runs, they're basically reinventing his swing, or they're just getting him back to the swing he previously had before adopting the new one that he entered 2025 with. I think the best thing is let him stay down with Syracuse at least through the All-Star break, and then when we start the second half, you bring Alvarez back up. It's like a brand new season, a fresh slate for him. So I think that would be the best thing for them to do. Thank you again to Steve Sorensen for the super chat, the $2. We're going to give that to Mookie and Bone Money over here. Explosive Diarrhea. Tony, what do you think of Manfred mandating Kershaw to the All-Star game? I didn't hear about that. What? You got to be kidding me. They did? All right, so I guess we got to do, let's take a look at this National League All-Star and see what happens, or maybe just all-star rosters. I mean, I guess that may be something like because they're expecting him to retire at the end of this year, and that's why they have Kershaw mandated into this game. That's really annoying. Let's see what they have to say on Twitter. I'm just going to do a quick search of Clayton Kershaw, see what comes up. 11-time All-Star. The Dodgers are so annoying. Oh my God, I can't stand them. Commissioner Rob Manfred has named Clayton Kershaw to the NL All-Star team as a legend pick in recognition of his illustrious career. Kershaw is an All-Star for the 11th time in his career. Okay, why? Like, why? Unless he was retiring, and even if he was, like, are you freaking kidding me? MLB caters to the Dodgers. They cater to everything for Los Angeles. It's so sickening. It makes me just queasy. Everything they do for the Dodgers. Let's look at some of the replies. Look, sleeper Mets. Let's waste a position for a pitcher who's beyond washed. Yankees fan here, Joey Manfred, really said, damn, we don't have enough Dodgers in the All-Star game already. I hate it. I really hate it. It's so annoying. I hate everything Dodgers. I mean, Kershaw's like a seemingly good dude outside of some of his like political views, I guess you could say. I personally don't feel one way or the other about it. I know a lot of people don't like some of his recent things, but I think that's a sham, man. You should be giving it to the kid that just had a really stellar season and may not get that opportunity to be an all-star again, instead of handing it to this guy that's already been at 10 all-star games, and you're going to give it to him as a legendary pick. pick. Okay, if that's the case, then get rid of all-star roster numbers and just allow as many people as you want to be at all-star weekend. That is a joke. I don't like it at all. Thanks for bringing that to my attention, Explosive Diarrhea, although now I'm kind of mad. Let's see. Congrats to DeGrom going to the all-star game. So Jacob DeGrom going to the all-star game. Cool to see that. Obviously been kind of a tough go for him since he left the Mets for Texas and getting the Tommy John surgery. RM1042 was listening to the fan before the game. Some buzz about the Mets bringing in Mitch Keller from the Pirates. Thoughts? Yeah, so there has been some buzz about Mitch Keller to the Mets. Mets and Pirates have apparently talked about that, and I have said it before. I think he's the perfect innings eater for this team, the veteran guy that will take the ball every fifth day for the remainder of this season for the team. And so that we don't have games like today where Chris Davinsky, Eric Pop, and Devo Garcia are pitching for us. So I would love the idea of Mitch Keller, but I don't like some of the asking prices that I have been seeing in some rumor trades or some trade suggestions. I've seen Ronnie Mauricio plus for a trade for Mitch Keller. And at that point, man, I just don't know if I'm ready to do that. I like Ronnie Mauricio. I am not a prospect hugger. I would trade him in the right trade, but I don't know if it's for a guy like Mitch Keller, especially if it's Ronnie Mauricio plus more guys from our farm system. So I don't know. I know he's got 3 years of control left for the team. He will be in this Mets rotation till 2028 if the Mets do make a trade for him, but I don't want to give up on a guy like Mauricio for him. I mean, I would do it in a much bigger trade if we're talking like Jarren Duran and someone like that. Yeah, I'm okay with giving up Mauricio, but for Mitch Keller, I don't know if that gets it done for me. Let's see. Jose Lopez Moya. Well, Mauricio's base running leaves a lot to be desired. I mean, there's nothing to criticize Mauricio for on that play. I mean, like, he was a dead duck no matter what. There was no way he was going to be safe at second. If Goldschmidt throws down to second, I guess what he could have done was try to get caught in a kind of a rundown or something there. But really, there was nothing Mauricio could have done. He's literally standing in front of Goldschmidt when he fields that ball. Obviously, he had the miscue on the 4th of July where he left second base when the ball was still in LeMahieu's glove. So, yes, I will give you that, but I'm not going to be critical of Mauricio for the play that happened today in the 8th inning on the double play off the bat of Brett Beatty. And this also just in, Pete Alonso is named to the 2025 All-Star team, 4th consecutive All-Star selection, his 5th overall. Congratulations to the Polar Bear, the soon-to-be all-time Mets home run leader. Pete Alonso is heading to Atlanta for the All-Star game. That is awesome to see. Last year, we know he was an All-Star because he participated in the Home Run Derby. Didn't love that look, to be honest, but Pete earned it this year without a doubt. He is having an amazing season. Where would they be without Pete Alonso this year? Like I said, man, I am giving this dude an extension, tacking on to that opt-out for next year and making it maybe 6 total after this year for him, keeping him in the orange and blue for the rest of his career. This guy will hit close to 500 home runs if he can play for the Mets for another 6-7 years or so. So I would love to see it all happen with this team. I am pumped for Pete Alonso. Congratulations to him. Jose Lopez Moya, home plate umpire, couldn't even umpire a Little League game. That was a brutal 9th inning, man. So brutal from him, bringing up Luis Torrens like that. Glad Carlos Mendoza got his money. And, we saw Mendy get thrown out of a game in Pittsburgh, I think it was, and we thought that might rile the team up. It didn't, but now the Mets coming off back-to-back series dubs, and he still goes out there, puts some dirt on the plate, and I'm really, really happy to see that kind of energy, that kind of fire from Carlos Mendoza that we saw today despite the loss. Red Bear Fox says, let's not get crazy. There have been 3 other legend picks for the All-Star game before. Yeah, there have been. I think it's a personal vendetta for me because I hate the Dodgers so much, and screw them. So that's how I feel about it. No, but yeah, that is definitely part of some of the energy I was just omitting about the legend pick of Clayton Kershaw being named an all-star for the National League team. Jose Lopez Moya says, 2 key moments in this game: Soto striking out on a pitch in the dirt, and Mendoza decision to pitch to Judge instead of walking him to go for the double play. Yeah, 100%. I mean, pitching to Judge there was a questionable choice. At that point, it was 3-0. It was the 5th inning, and I don't think many of us really, truly believe the Mets had much of a chance to get back into this game anyway. So don't hate that he didn't pitch to Judge that he did pitch to Judge that early in the game. That was when it was Eric Pop on the mound. But I mean, yeah, hindsight's 2020, and you could have walked Judge. There was still, I think, only one out in the inning, so you'd be putting 2 runners aboard for Giancarlo Stanton, who, yeah, obviously not that great anymore, but still can run into one at any given time. So I am not going to be overly critical of Mendoza for not intentionally walking Aaron Judge there in the 5th inning before he hits that 2-run shot. But let's get back to the game really quick. I know we kind of got off track there, but we saw the debut of 2 different Mets pitchers today in a bullpen game from the Uber drivers. Davinsky, obviously 2 solid innings to open this one up. Eric Pop, who we signed to 2 separate, we actually just signed him to a major league deal here, I think it was on Friday. Pitches a 1 1/3, gives up 5 hits, 3 earned runs, including that 2-run shot to Aaron Judge. I think it's very likely that might be the one and only time that we see Eric Pop pitching for the New York Mets. I hope that is the case, but that is exactly kind of how things have been going for the Mets lately. They pick these guys up off the street or off of AAA rosters, and then they give them an appearance, and they basically get DFA'd the next day. So I would not be surprised to see Eric Pop DFA'd and gone and off this team, and that we never see him again. I really do hope that is the case. And then we got to see Rico Garcia, who actually had a really impressive appearance for the Mets today. He goes 2 scoreless innings in the 8th and the 9th. He went 3-0 on Judge, comes all the way back and gets him looking at 3 consecutive strikes, and he punches out Aaron Judge. So that was pretty cool to see from Rico Garcia. I don't know what they're going to get from this guy. He is a rather tiny right-hander standing at 5'9", but I mean, hey, we'll take it. He has pitched a couple different teams in his big league career, beginning with the Rockies in 2019. Most recently was pitching with Washington in 2023, and that did not go so well. I mean, just 31 career games at the big league level, including today for the Mets. But I mean, 2 scoreless innings from Rico Garcia. Who would have thunk it? So one really good debut from Garcia, one really ugly one from Eric Pop. We will see how the Mets decide to manage this roster now as they head into an off day tomorrow before going out on the final road trip to end the first half. Guys, if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Also, leave this video a like. Really appreciate it. Goes a long way toward helping me out here for daily Mets content, post-game recap after every single Mets game. Thank you so much. RM 1042, if Davinsky didn't pitch yesterday, he could have came out for the 3rd instead of Pop. Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, no matter what, we were going to see Eric Pop pitch. So it could have been 3 innings scoreless ball from Davinsky, but at some point Pop was coming in and he was going to pop this game open. Okay. So unfortunately, it's just the hand that we have been dealt with all the injuries to the staff. All Mendoza could do is pitch the guys that are in his bullpen that David Stearns supplies him with. And I hope as we get closer and closer to the trade deadline that we start to see some moves that will actually stick in the big leagues, especially in the bullpen and maybe in the rotation, so that we don't have to see games like pitched by guys like this too many more times. So let me go to the chat right here. Explosive diarrhea. 2 of those pitches to Terrens in the 9th were balls. Screw that ump. Yeah, dude, that was horrible. I don't know what he was looking at there, but they were awful. And that could set up a huge inning. I mean, all you need is a base runner to bring the tying run to the plate. So, I mean, I was flabbergasted because I'm getting this stream ready, keeping an eye on the game here at the same time. I look down after the first missed call to Terrens that I think went to the backstop. The Yankees catcher, Austin Wells, couldn't catch it. And I'm like, oh, that's a ball. And then I look back up and I hear it's a strike. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, what the hell are you talking about? Horrible calls there. Really kind of put a damper on the beginning of that 9th inning as the Mets do end up going 1-2-3. Marte grounds out, and then Lindor on a check swing for strike 3. Let's see. Red Bear Fox, Rico Garcia pitched with some cojones. He did. That was pretty impressive for him. I mean, look, at this point, dude's got nothing to lose. You know, like I said, debuted in 2019, has not pitched in the bigs since 2023 with the Nats. So, I mean, why not go right at them? Go after them. Why not? Don't nibble at the strike zone or anything. But let's see. Ronald Fridkiss. Overall, I thought the Mets showed a good accounting and fight. That is exactly what I had said at the beginning of this stream and throughout, Ronald. I am happy with how the Mets fought back today. I am happy they won 2 out of 3 against the Brewers, won 2 out of of 3 against the Yankees. The offense looked fantastic in the first 2 games. Today, I thought it looked really solid too, despite falling behind 5-0, and they showed some fight. Not something that we saw at all from this team during that terrible 3-week stretch. So I am really, really happy with what we got from this Mets team today, with all odds against them, making it a ball game against the Yankees, putting them on the precipice of losing 7 consecutive games, getting swept again, and making them sweat it out. I am really impressed with what we got from the Mets today. Jose Lopez Moya. Stingy Stearns is like a homeless looking for good at a dumpster for a dude at a dumpster. Holy Moneyball, Batman. I mean, look, dude, he's going to do that here and there, but I do believe he is going to make some acquisitions for big league talent that will stick on this roster. We are ready to get Kodai Senga and Sean Manaea back. The Mets are still hoping that both of those guys will make starts in the series against Kansas City for the series finale before the All-Star break, and we are set to reactivate Jesse Winker from the injured list potentially as soon as tonight and have him ready to go for the Mets next game on Tuesday. So we are getting healthier, and I believe that they are also going to make some acquisitions at the deadline for the bullpen, for the rotation, and maybe even something big for the lineup. So we will see how it all goes. Red Bear Fox Lindor still not looking good. He's doing a lot of guessing, and he's starting his swing way too early. I mean, I'm not going to get on Lindor here. I mean, the dude had 3 hits yesterday. He had an RBI hit today, 2-run single up the middle. I know he's only 1 for 4, and the other at-bats didn't look tremendous, but he was also going against Max Fried and against one of the better relievers, late inning guys in, what's his freaking name? The dude from the Yankees that fucking... Pete hit his, Devin Williams, oh my God, that Pete hit his homer off. So, I mean, look, he had some tough pitching that he was going up against today. And despite that, gets a 2-run single off of Fried to get the Mets on the board there with the bases loaded and nobody out. So, I mean, he's definitely got to continue building on what he's done here, but I thought it was a really great weekend from Francisco Lindor overall. Batting average still leaving a lot to be desired, 261, OPS 785. Got to get those up. Look, if he ends with a 261 average, but the OPS is up around 830, then okay. It has definitely been a while since Francisco Lindor has hit a homer. So I'll give you that. The power has not been on display. He's at 17 home runs. At one point, he was leading this team. He's now probably the 5th leader of the home runs for the Mets. But let's see, his last 7 games, he did hit a home run a couple days ago. I forgot, against Milwaukee after Brandon Nimmo's grand slam. But the power has definitely not been on display as much as we saw in the early going for Lindor, but he is definitely not my biggest concern right now. It is absolutely the pitching staff getting healthier, getting back on track, and adding some additions specifically in the rotation, if you ask me. Let's see. Jose Lopez Moya. Nothing of importance will happen to the Mets at the trading deadline. Let's not count the eggs before they are hatched. I mean, look, man, we can't just be negative the whole time. Like, I think they are going to make some worthwhile moves, but I will wait, and when they are done at the end of the deadline, I will let you know my feelings. I think they are going to be active. I think they are going to fill holes in all 3 facets, rotation, bullpen, and this lineup. I'm not saying they're going to be the most massive Yoenis Cespedes type acquisitions, but I do believe that Stearns is going to realize this is a World Series caliber core. They just need some little sprinkling around the edges of this roster to improve it. So that's just how I feel. I could be totally wrong, and I will give it to you straight at the end of the trade deadline. Ronald Frickett says, with Mauricio getting more playing time, Vientos should be involved in a trade for pitching. I don't think they're going to trade Vientos, only because his value is so low right now. Maybe where he is a part of a package that includes a big prospect, if they are going big game hunting. What that looks like, I don't know for who. It depends. But his value is very, very low, obviously, based on how he has looked this year, unless you find a team that says, oh, he just had that season he had in 2024. We can fix him. We know exactly what's wrong with him. He'll be our third baseman for the next 7, 6, whatever years. But I don't know if a team like that exists out there. But I hear you, man. Nothing is off the table with any of those names that we have mentioned. Brett Beatty, Ronnie Mauricio, Mark Vientos, Francisco Alvarez. Honestly, I am willing to part with any of those guys in the right trade. So it just depends on the return and the total package going back for XYZ player. Insert the blank. Let's see. Red Bear Fox says Taylor's a terrible career hitter. He's a career 235, 240 hitter right now. He's slightly below his career average, but he's still a terrible hitter. So center field is definitely something we have bantied about, guys. We've talked Jarren Duran. We've talked Cedric Mullins. We've talked Byron Buxton, though I don't think he is leaving Minnesota because he really likes it there and has a no trade clause. But the Mets can fill this lineup up one of two ways. You either get a third baseman, but then you displace Brett Beatty, who has been really solid defensively there this year and has been hitting the ball a little bit lately. Or you get a center fielder, and then you solve a huge issue because you need that production that you're not getting out of Tyrone Taylor. Obviously, you haven't gotten anything out of Jose Siri. Who knows the deal with him if he's even going to come back and play this year. But me, personally, now based on what I have seen out of Beatty lately, he is defensively 4 outs above average at third base this year. That is third in all of baseball among qualified defenders. I think you might just have to hand the reins to Beatty at third base for the rest of the year and try to get that center fielder to fill the big hole in the lineup. You hope you can get something out of Luis Torrens and when Francisco Alvarez returns to the big league club from behind the plate, but at this point, you're just going to have to almost accept that there's going to be one position in this lineup that is just not going to produce very much for you. And when that's the case, you have to be getting elite defense there, and nowhere better than to be getting it behind the plate or up the middle in center field. So I feel like that is where the Mets are at this point. Let's see. Ronald Frickett says, I'm thinking Miami's a fit trade for Alcantara. So Alcantara has definitely been someone that many Mets fans are asking for. Let's take a look at what Sandy Alcantara's been doing recently. We know he's returning from Tommy John surgery. First half of the year, not so good for him, and honestly, it really hasn't turned much for him. Has a 7.01 ERA in 17 starts this season, over 86 innings, has a 1.44 whip. So look, man, I know a lot of fans want to trade for Alcantara. I am not going to do that and try and end up fixing him in just in a year and a half, and he has got the numbers that he has this year. I mean, 7.01 ERA, his ERA plus is at 62. He is walking batters like crazy this year, 3.7 walks per 9. I am not going to trade the package that the Marlins are hopeful that they're still going to get for a guy that is 29, that is just coming off Tommy John surgery, and so far this year has looked like cheeks. So I don't think Alcantara is the move if you ask me. I think the Mets are better served getting that veteran inning eater, getting that Merrill Kelly, that Mitch Keller, reuniting with Seth Lugo or with Luis Severino. I don't think the Mets should be going all in on Alcantara unless the price is equal to a trade that it would take to get one of those aforementioned guys that I just mentioned. But I think the Marlins are going to still try to dangle him out there as, former Cy Young winner. It's Sandy Alcantara. We're expecting 2 top 100 prospects plus a major league ready player. I ain't touching it. I ain't touching it if that's the case. Okay. 7 ERA coming off Tommy John surgery. They had this dude throw 230 innings in 2022 when he won the Cy Young. He had an 8 WAR. He was ridiculous that year. I get it. But they had him throw 230 innings in a meaningless season. They ruined him. And I said it in real time when he was doing it, man. They are just running his arm into the ground in a meaningless season. And the Marlins paid the price. Ended up needing Tommy John after 23. And he doesn't look the same. So me personally, unless prices being equal for all those names, I ain't touching Sandy Alcantara. Mets fans so happy Winker's coming back. So am I, man. They desperately could use that, although the offense definitely showed me a little bit something this weekend here, so I'm really happy about that. Red Bear Fox says Vientos has been really bad every season outside of last year. He's been bad 90% of his major league time. Not sure why people think Vientos has so much potential to turn it around. So I am one of those guys that does believe he has potential. I don't have blind faith in him, but what I will say is that I have seen Mark Vientos have a season like he did in 2024. And that was more than we have seen out of the likes of Brett Beatty. and close or maybe even more than what we saw out of Francisco Alvarez in 2023. So when I see people citing Beatty's stats, you know, the exit velocity and barrel percentage and all the underlying metrics, I say, okay, well, point to me the season where he ever hit 27 home runs. Point to me the playoff home runs that he had, that Mark Vientos had last year. Point to me a season where he even had 15 home runs and lasted the entire 162 at the big league level, and you can't. And so that is why I am a believer that Vientos has it in him. But again, not blind faith, because I can see right now, and I have seen the entire 2025 season, Mark Vientos does not look the same. And that is why I said here today, and I repeat it now, the Mets should send him back down to AAA tonight. Keep Ronnie Mauricio when they reactivate Jesse Winker to the MLB roster. I think sending him to AAA, giving him more time there to figure it out is the right thing to do. In and out like crazy. Man, I'm sorry, guys. I hope it's not too bad. It sounds good on my end, so I don't know what the problem is. Let me know in the chat if it's still bad, Red Bear Fox. I appreciate you letting me know. I tinkered with this stream so much for 5 hours last night and for 2 hours this morning to make sure that it would go off without a hitch. And I thought everything was fixed, but maybe not, which would be really disappointing. But let me know if the audio quality is really still bad. But everything looks good on my end, so I don't know why it's not coming out good for you guys. I apologize if that is the case. Pete said he's not doing the Derby. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, no, thank you, Stefan. Red Bear says it was going in and out. I don't know if it still is or not. Let me know so I can see if I can fix anything here, but everything does look smooth for me, so I don't know why. Hopefully that's not been the case, but just leave and join back and it's fine. Okay, thank you, Mets fan. So yeah, guys, if you are having problems, just leave it and then just come back. And maybe it was just you, Red Bear Fox, but again, I think the video quality has been really good today. I know yesterday was horrible and I had to end the stream early, so hopefully all of those issues are fixed. But Pete Alonso not doing the home run derby this year, that is interesting, and I'm actually kind of happy to hear that, because look, man, it's time we go and get to a World Series, man, with this team. Pete's having this great year. He's got the opt-out for next season. Just go to the All-Star game, enjoy being an All-Star, take your 1 or 2 at-bats and just be done with it. All the fans of other teams like to crap on Pete for how serious he takes the All-Star game or the home run derby and doing deadlifts in between his sessions. So just go enjoy being an all-star, take a little relaxation, a little vacation, if you will, and then get back and get ready to go on a big, big run in the second half. So I'm actually happy that Pete is not going to compete in the home run derby. Jose Lopez Moya says Sanger's catching is good and he made pretty good contact. Dude, hey, you could do so much worse for having your third catcher be Hayden Sanger. You could do so much worse than Hayden Sanger being your backup catcher that you stash away in AAA. I am super impressed with this guy. When we heard Francisco Alvarez was going to need surgery right in the middle of spring training this year, and that Hayden Sanger was going to be one of the guys competing for the backup job, I was like, oh brother. And this dude has been fantastic. I mean, look, he's not going to hit 250. He's not going to hit home runs, but I mean, base hit, line drive into right center field today. You know, obviously the double play with the bases loaded there in the 5th or 6th inning kind of put a damper on things. I personally, like I said, if I was Carlos Mendoza, I'm giving him the take sign at least for the first 2 pitches of that at bat. So that was a little questionable first pitch swinging, and he rolls into the double play despite a run scoring. But Sanger has been really solid behind the plate defensively. He's put up professional at bats for the most part. He has moved runners over. He's even got a couple of hits as well. So good for Hayden Sanger. Let's see. Jose Lopez Moya says Seth Lugo is on the tail end of his career. Need a young starter. Seth Lugo is only a rental for this year, so we could forget about age. Like, we're just talking about someone that improves this team for 2025. That is why Seth Lugo makes sense. He's cheap and he has a player option for next year. If he decides to activate it, it's worth like $13 million, which is an absolute bargain for a guy that just finished 2nd in American League Cy Young voting last year. So no, Seth Lugo is not too old for this team. He would be a great fit for 2025 and potentially even for next year if he did exercise that option with them. Let's see. Red Bear Fox says Sanger can't be their starting catcher and Trends shouldn't be either. They need a legit everyday catcher. And we're just hoping that's going to be the case with Francisco Alvarez. But like I said, the AAA numbers have not been as pretty as we might imagine they are because we keep hearing about all the home runs that he has been hitting for them, 4 in his last 7 games. But the batting average has not been there. So I don't know if these are AAA stats all. Let's take a look. Here are Francisco Alvarez's game logs here. So you should be able to see here. July 2nd had a 3-hit game, including a homer. Then he went 0 for 3. Then he went 1 for 4. That 1 hit is a base hit. Then he went 0 for 3 on 4th of July. Then went 1 for 4 yesterday with a 2-run homer. But overall, the batting average is at 195. So yeah, he's been hitting homers, and that's great to see and all. But, you know, I got to see a little more out of him before I'm ready to give him the call back to the big leagues. So me personally, I would have Francisco Alvarez stay with Syracuse at least through the All-Star break, then call him up, begin the second half, clean slate. That's just how I feel about it. But guys, I think we're going to wrap it up here. And I think we're going to just preview tomorrow, or I'm sorry, it's Tuesday's game where the Mets and the Orioles will be facing off to begin a 3-game set out in Baltimore. So let's do that right now. But guys, definitely appreciate you all being in here. Be sure to leave a like. Obviously, tough one for the Mets today. They lose the series finale to the Yankees. They come up just short in their comeback quest in completing the sweep. But I thought it was a well-fought game from the Mets. They go down 5-0. They have a bullpen who's who of AAA pitchers throwing for them, and they made it interesting to the end. And I thought those were some really good signs, especially coming off winning back-to-back series from playoff teams last year. So let's take a look at Tuesday's opening matchup of the series with the Orioles. It will be Clay Holmes on the mound taking on, is it not Anthony Young? That's the guy with the longest losing streak in baseball history for the New York Mets back in the 90s. It is Brandon Young, a righty, 26-year-old for Baltimore. He will be squaring off with the Mets' Clay Holmes, who is pitching still really well for this team as a starter, despite kind of going a little bit shorter now as they try to conserve his arm for the whole season. 8-4 on the year with a 2.99 ERA in 17 starts over 93 innings. Remember, the most innings that Clay Holmes has ever thrown in a single season was 70 or 73, somewhere around there. So he is far above that, obviously converting now to a starting pitcher this year. Last time out for Clay Holmes was against the Brewers. He went 5 innings. He got the hook kind of early. We jumped on Mendy for that because he was only at 90 pitches. But guys, I got news for you. That is just kind of how it's going to go now with them trying to keep him healthy for the rest of this season, hopefully through the whole regular season and then for a lengthy run into October. But he actually went 5 1/3 innings pitched. That's when Mendy went to Reed Garrett, who blew that game for them with the grand slam in game 1 of that doubleheader against the Brewers. So he was charged with 2 earned runs, one of them coming in on that grand slam, but 4 walks from Clay Holmes, and that has really kind of been an issue for him lately. You could see it right here, man. This is tough. This line right here, 2 walks against Tampa Bay. That was a couple weeks ago. But then 6 walks against Atlanta, 4 against Atlanta at Citi Field his next time out, and then against the Brewers, 4 more walks. So we are talking 14, was that? 8 plus 6 is 14 plus 2, 16 walks in his last 4 starts. That is not going to get the job done. So hopefully Clay Holmes is looking a bit sharper. He'll have an extra day of rest heading into this next appearance against Baltimore on Tuesday. And then the Mets will be facing off with Brandon Young, right-hander, like I said, 26 years old, big guy, 6'6". Sheesh, he's a big boy, but he does not have great numbers. 7.02 ERA in 4 starts this year. He has lasted just 16 2/3 innings pitched. Let's see what he did in some of his recent games. This is actually he just pitched on July 1st against the Rangers. He ends up going 4 innings, gives up 3 earned in that one. Has not gone a full 5 innings yet this season in his 4 starts. So guys, a chance for the Mets to keep the good times rolling. Like I said, I am happy. I am encouraged with how the Mets performed today with all odds stacked stacked against them to make this a ball game when they fall down 5-0 with the AAA, quadruple A, Uber driver pitchers that they had on the mound for them. I thought this was a moral victory for the Mets today. And I am not a moral victory kind of guy, but that is the luxury that you get when you win the first 2 games of the series the way that they did against the Yankees, coming off the series victory against the Brewers. So I think the Mets have rounded the corner, but they need to keep building now. Go win 2 out of 3 against the Orioles. Go win 2 out of 3 against the Royals after that. Round out the first half with 4 consecutive series victories, and they will put themselves in a very good spot to start the second half. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me give my thank yous. Thank you to Stefan, to Earl, to Absol. Thank you to Ghost of Maiden's Peak. Thank you to D Rails. Thank you to Buzz Bass. Thank you to who else? Oh boy. Steven Sorensen for the super chat. Thank you to MYC Buzz 22. Thank you to Ronald Fridkiss. Thank you to RM 1042. Thank you to AMBRY3J. Thank you to Jose Lopez Moya. Thank you to Lane Kerner. Thank you to Earl Daly and to Everyday Mets. And thank you to everyone else that didn't comment but tuned in. Guys, I appreciate it so much. You guys are awesome. Oh, and of course to Red Bear Fox and Explosive Diarrhea. You guys are the best. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll be back with another post-game recap after the opening game of the series with the Orioles on Tuesday. But be sure to subscribe if you're not already. Leave the video a like. More Mets Daily content coming out tomorrow despite the off day. But until Tuesday when we speak again live, I am Tony Metro. Stay true to the orange and blue.